Hey, we're live. We are here. We're alive. And neither of us have COVID from DEF CON, as
This is
far as
true.
we know. I'm pretty sure I don't have COVID from DEF CON because I didn't actually go to
That
DEF
would
CON.
be difficult. Yes, I went,
Yeah,
but yeah, I didn't come back with COVID, as far as I know. So
as far as you know. So that's good news so far. This is Jason Gillam, everybody, from Secure Ideas. And he's our special guest on AASLR. I was at the RIA as I say it, or I know I'm just gonna screw it up because I can't say those letters very well. But he's got a tool that sounds like a future weapon. Uh, apparently, um, Paramalyzer,
Paramalyzer.
Paramalyzer. There we
Yes.
go. I know words. So, Jason, what is Paramalyzer? What's it for? Show us what it does.
Okay, I can do that. All right. So it is a burp extension. And that's part of the reason it has the name it does, because if you've looked at burp before, you may have noticed there's a pattern with the names of things on there. Everything ends in ER. So you have repeater, intruder, decoder, comparer, or I don't know. That one's really hard to say. And now we have Paramalyzer. So so there we
and
go.
and and this is it right here, or is this Burp Suite?
This is not it, but I this is a good place to start.
Okay.
So the important thing to understand about Paramalyzer is that this is a tool for the earlier phase of your penetration test. And what you're looking at in this case is you're analyzing the parameters, hence parameter analyzer or Paramalyzer, um, and trying to figure out what inside that application is important or sensitive in nature, and is anything happening to that data, or is it going anywhere it shouldn't be, things like that. So to get started, what you'll do, and we're just looking at Burp Suite's proxy history here. I have already gone through most of Juice Shop, which is a vulnerable application from OWASP, to basically create some history for us to work with. And I will run that through Paramalyzer. So one of the first things that you need to do is basically teach Paramalyzer. See, I'm going to mess it up now. What's actually in
Jinx
scope?
you.
There's too many syllables. Um,
It's your own fault.
it is, but yes, you're right. I have only one person to blame. But we'll want to add it to scope. Um, what we're actually analyzing, because it needs to know what's in scope and what's not in scope. For this reason, when you get this prompt inside of Burp Suite, you always say no, because we actually do want to accumulate project data for out of scope items. The reason we want to is because we want to know, do we have some piece of sensitive information that's in scope that is making its way out of scope? Make sense? So we'll hit no on that. And so if I look at the target scope, that's all I have in there. It's localhost 3000. That's where I was running the Juice Shop application. Okay, so Paramalyzer is what it's going to do at this point is it's going to look at all of the in-scope items and try to figure out what the parameters are and what sort of format they're in. And it will actually do a bunch of decoding and stuff for you automatically. This one went pretty fast. I don't have tons of history here. I have, I want to say, I think about, let's just take a look here. Yeah, it's about 600 entries on there that it has to go through. So it actually goes very fast in this case. But I've done some testing with much larger applications, and also cases where I've tested multiple applications. So I have maybe several applications that are in scope at the same time. If you do that, if you have a whole bunch of stuff in your proxy history all at once, and you want to use Paramalyzer on one at a time, you can always set them in and out of the target scope inside of Burp Suite, and then reanalyze, basically clear it out and analyze again. So here's an example of what we have as output. And it has done its best job as it can to try to figure out what the format is for the different things that are there. It will also tell you whether or not something was decoded. That's what that checkbox is. And then there's this secret checkbox, which I'll get to that momentarily. So what I like to do is go to the format and sort on that so we can get an idea of what interesting formats there are. Because most of this is going to say, yeah, these are words or just printable. Printable just means printable characters. But near the top, we see things that have been recognized as a specific type of format. This first one here is a credit card number. It's not a real credit card, but it does actually pass the Lund algorithm. So it's recognized that that's a valid credit card number. You have email addresses. It picks up JSON objects, JWTs, right? JSON Web Tokens, and any of the hashes that are supported within Java. Remember, Burp Suite runs within Java, so that's I haven't added anything new there. But okay, so question from the audience: is this a Pro extension? I'm running it in Pro, but it will work outside of Pro. So I will also point out that the version that I'm showing you right now is not the version that's in the BAP store, but it is in the BAP store. The version that they have a backlog. I already talked to Portswigger last week, and they have a backlog, so it might be a while before they actually promote it, the newest version, into the BAP store. But you can download it, and we'll put that link out in the chat at some point. So you can download the jar file and just sideload it. Let me just go right here very quickly so you can kind of see where you would do that. All you do is just hit the add button, and you're going to have the ability to select a file and add it in that way. If you do that, make sure that if you have an old version like from the BAP store that's already installed, you should remove that one first so you don't have both of them in there, because that'll get confusing. So, all right. So let's talk about a couple of the things that it can do. It's in addition to identifying what's there. Like, for example, we have this MD5. I can go down in the bottom left-hand corner, click on one, and it will tell us why it thinks it's an MD5, right? So it looks like I know I didn't get it doesn't stretch properly here. I need to fix that. Working with UIs in Java is really, really complex. So, but basically it says it's it looks like a hex string length of 32, which would possibly make it an MD5. And if you have things that are decodable, it will kind of break it down for you as well there and give you more information. There, if you're working, in this case here, I'm looking at a JSON Web Token, but if you're looking at JSON Web Tokens and trying to do work with those in a pen test, there are other extensions that might work better for you than trying to do it through here. So, okay. Yep, there we go. That should be it. Okay. Now I wanted to point out a couple things. First of all, the cookies tab just gets populated automatically. That just gives you just a breakdown of the cookies that are in there. I know a lot of this is now available as inside the tabs inside of Burp Suite, but it wasn't when I first built that. There's also the sessions. So interesting thing with the sessions, have you ever run into that problem where you have an application, it has a whole bunch of cookies on it, cookies and maybe an authorization header, and you're wondering, okay, well, which of these are actually part of the maintaining the user's session? It could be one of them, maybe it's 2 or 3, but you don't know. And so you want to maybe test all of those. So if you pick a request that's likely to be one for someone who's logged in, they're actually, Juice Shop has to happen one that's called Who Am I, which is very convenient for this. We can go down to right-click Extensions, Paramalyzer, Send to Paramalyzer. And it will bring it up in here. We can see that request. And now I actually have Juice Shop running in this case here. This is the one part of Paramalyzer that is interactive rather than just searching through the history. So first of all, I will verify the baseline so I can see what is this normal request going to be. And it normally will return a 304 if everything is there. What's going to happen if I press this analyze button is it's going to send 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different requests. And in each of those requests, first it'll do the baseline. And then for the remaining 5, it will remove that item. So the language cookie, the cookie consent cookie, the welcome banner cookie, it's going to remove that cookie from that particular test request. By doing this, we can very quickly see, well, which of those cookies actually matter, right? So what do we notice here? We got a 304 on everything except for one request, which is the token cookie. So it appears that in Juice Shop, the authorization header is not actually used for authorization. The token cookie is. So it's sort of one of those interesting discoveries that you can make just by looking at the right requests. So this is a very quick way of doing that. You could do it manually inside of Repeater, but this is much faster, especially if you have a lot of different cookies in your application and you're trying to get a good idea of what is used for logging in and what isn't. Okay. Now, the last part that I want to show is secrets. So what is a secret? A secret is anything that is a sensitive piece of information. It could be PII. It could be something like a credit card number. It's definitely things like your username and password. It's information that an application handles that is sensitive in nature, and it's supposed to be between the application and the user, right? It's supposed to be kept between the two. So if something that's supposed to be a secret ends up outside of the scope of that application, so it's going to another application per se, or maybe it's I would even count something that shows up in the URL, right? We're not supposed to put sensitive data in the URL. Then that would be something that we would call a secret. So I got to thinking that, you can search for these things individually, but what I was searching for is a way to look for cases where secrets were leaking outside of the scope of an application, but be able to do it very quickly across many different secrets. And part of the problem is, okay, well, let's say you're looking at, a session cookie or a username or, whatever piece of information. What you could do is you could go into Burp's search functionality, which it's kind of hidden up here if you don't know where it is, and use that. But when you do that, you basically have to search for each value individually. So instead, what I decided was, okay, well, why don't we we already have collected the different types of parameters that are in the system. So we know, for example, that there is a parameter that's called card number. There is a parameter that's called email. And these are bad examples because I only have one value in there. But let's just say we have something that's a secret in here. I'm going to actually mark this one as one. That's a secret in here that there are 20 different values for that secret. Now if you actually wanted to search to see if any of those were leaking outside of the application, you would have to run through Burp's search 20 different times with each of those values, like once for each of those values, to see if any instance of that is ending up outside. And then let's say you multiply that by, maybe you have 20 different secrets inside your application. Well, now you have 400 searches that you need to do. If you're looking to, so I guess long story short, most pen testers don't bother going through all that trouble of testing every single case. They'll look through the proxy history, see if anything jumps out. They might do some searching on certain values that are key values, but they're not going to necessarily search for every possible instance that they've encountered inside of an application for a particular type of secret parameter, right? So how do we do this? So I came up with, this is like the the fourth iteration. I had one that was sort of this graphical mapping thing, and that just didn't work out, so I didn't do that. It looked really cool, but it didn't do what I wanted it to do. So in the end, I came up with this way of doing it. What I'm going to do is mark everything that I know is a secret. It takes some guesses, but it doesn't do them all right. So we have, let's see, I'm looking at the example values here to determine which ones are probably, I don't know if this is here, an SID. This could be, it's a security answer for something. Let's see what else we got. There it is again. Probably this one here, probably not that one there. Don't know what those are because they don't actually have any values. Okay, so that should be it. And now I'm going to just click over on the secrets tab. Import my secrets. So once you click that import secrets, it basically takes everything that you've marked in the previous one on the previous tab and brings it into this table here. And a couple of other things, we can actually remove stuff like this one here is just a number, so I'm not going to bother with that one. So we have our list. It shows you an example of what one of those values might be. And it also has this hunt hashed marker on there. And what that's going to do is look for the hashed equivalent for that particular value. And I put it in there as optional because as this list gets big and you have a lot of proxy history, this can take a while because it could be running hundreds of searches across your history. So I wanted to kind of pare it down and give you a little bit more control over it. So I'm going to take, it does also eliminate duplicates as it's doing its searching as well. So I don't have to worry about the fact that secret password 1 shows up there more than once. That's okay. We would just go ahead and click it. And why don't I just go ahead and do card number as well? Okay.
Question from chat. Can you specify the hash variant?
Right now, no. Right now, it will search. It'll do MD5s, SHA-256, and and SHA-1s. I think that's all it does. But yeah, good question. But that's a good feature. I should point out before I go on. I just should point out that what I'm hoping to get out of this today, other than some awareness that there's this tool that I find very useful and I'd like to share it with others, is that I would like feedback. So any of you who do web pen tests, use it and let me know what's working, what else it should do if you have other ideas. I don't expect pull requests, but I would really like to get some some more ideas on how to improve it. Part of the reason I don't expect pull requests is, as I said, when you're writing Java code for user interfaces, it gets really crazy. So it's not something I expect very many people to know. All right, so once we have this much selected, we then just hit the hunt secrets, and it will go through, and you can see where it has basically given us where it's found issues or problems with some of these items. And to be fair, I did contrive a couple of these examples just for demonstration purposes, because Juice Shop doesn't do some of what I wanted to show. But let's just go ahead with that. So if I look at this first one here, we have a case of the secret shows up in the URL, right? So we have a GET request, and in this case here, it's a password, and it's showing up inside the URL. Here we have another one it's the same issue here, right, with the secret in the URL. We also have one where the secret is showing up in an out-of-scope request, and this is one of the ones I contrived, right? So it's showing up in going to example.com. This one it happens to be the MD5 hash of that password, but yeah. So that's where that one shows up. Let's see, what else do we have here? So this is a hashed version of the credit card number because I said to look for hashes, it did. Also going out of scope. And then also, it also showed up in a refer header, also going out of scope, right? So this was an out of scope request that went to example.com instead. And we got a couple more here. It's much of the same thing at this point, right? So the username that I was using also went to example.com out of scope. So that gives a few examples of the types of things that this looks for. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So it's a very simple tool. I've used this on tests. It's particularly fun to use it on applications where marketing has got their hands on an app, and so there's a whole lot of analytics type of things plugged into it. And I've found sensitive information that's being thrown at Google Analytics. It basically gets collected up and gets sent over to Google Analytics, which is not something that you should be doing, right? But yeah.
Awesome. Let's change some views here. If there are any questions from the audience, now's the time to ask about the tool, or maybe even perceived questions. I don't know. Come up with a question. We're here to answer them.
Questions.
While we wait for questions, since this is Antisyphon Training, and we do training, we're going to highlight some training. There's one that starts, I believe, next week that Jason is involved with, and that is what was it? It was
that's the OWASP.
What'd you say?
OWASP Top 10.
Yeah, OWASP Top 10. And there's that link. I'm going to copy it into the chat as well.
I'm not teaching that one. Kevin's going to be teaching that. I've been pulling together the labs for it. So
there we go. And then the other one that you, I think, are more involved with is the mentorship, correct?
Yeah, the CISSP mentorship,
which we mentioned last time, but we'll mention it again. And here's the link for that one.
This one we run regularly. I think we've been doing it 3 times a year. Sometimes it kind of goes over to 4, and it's a 10. I'm hesitating because we changed how long it is. I believe now it's a 10-week class.
Yes, 10 week. I remember 10 weeks. Mm-hmm. It's going on through November 15th, 2 to 4 p.m.
Yeah, that one's good. It's kind of a self-study course where we get together once a week to walk through a lot of the content and kind of.
Yeah, it was described as not a study on your own thing, and not here's a whole bunch of info shoved down your brain. It's kind of the middle ground.
So exactly, yeah.
Which I think is a very cool idea.
We've had a lot of good feedback from it. A lot of people who have taken the mentorship program have gone and taken their CISSP exam and passed it afterwards. So.
All right, we got our question. So the basics is capture packets, then import and analyze with Paramalyzer. I'm going to get it right before we're done here.
Yes, that's right. So, and you actually bring up a good point. It's important that if you're going to get the most out of Paramalyzer, that you do that before you start hacking the application. I know it's very tempting when you start looking at a web application to get in there and start with, I'm going to put a single tick on all the fields and see if I get a SQL error back, so I can do SQL injection, or start putting script tags into things. If you do that, you're kind of muddying your baseline for Paramalyzer. It's also not really best practice, right? What you should be doing when you're doing a web application pen test is mapping out the actual known functionality of the application first. And once you have that baseline of, these are all of the requests that are normal for this application, that's when you bring it into Paramalyzer and start looking through it and trying to figure out, is there anything here that I should be paying close attention to, or anything that's leaving it, or any sensitive data that's leaving the application or anything like that. So yeah, that's pretty much, yeah.
That's it in a
I think
nutshell.
that's it in a nutshell. Yeah, it's
Cool.
not hard.
Well, I'm not seeing any more questions, so I think that's about it. I see someone typing though, but we'll wait. If this is the first AASLR you've seen, they are not all about Burp Suite and Paramalyzer tools that I can barely pronounce, and I won't say 5 times fast. It's random. That's what AASLR stands for. I forgot what it says, what it stands for. Active. I don't know. I'm having a bad memory day. But it's random. That's the whole point of the series. But we do this series every Tuesday and Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, and they are meant to be pretty short webcasts. This one we're about 30 minutes, just under 30 minutes, so this is right on time. Sometimes they go over, but that's what we do. And again, check out our trainings at antisyphontraining.com. I'll throw up a graphic for that because I have one, so let's do that. It's hard to multitask. There we go. Follow. That's our Twitch. I'll get it. I have too many here. There we go. I found it. I've added so many lower thirds in this program that I'm losing track. I got to clean them out. Thank you for that. Here we go. Here's what AASLR stands for. No cyber threat hunter has rescued me. Any final thoughts, Jason?
No, I not really. Just
where if somebody wanted to give you feedback, how would they do that?
Oh yeah, that's actually great. That's a great one. So I guess there's 2 ways. One, you could just email me. I'm jason@secureideas.com.
jason@secureideas.com. Remember that.
So easy to find that way. The other one is you could open an issue on that GitHub repo if it's specific to Paramalyzer. I have also in that same GitHub space, you will find Burp CO2. If anyone's used that one, that's an older plugin. It needs a little bit of love. It's basically for generating exploit payloads. It needs a little bit of love, but most of it still works. So, but yeah, either one of those, any feedback would be much appreciated. Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's going to wrap us up then for today. And I'm going to say, Ryan, kill it with fire, because Jason's not here to say it. And we have to say it now. We just have to. And see you next time, guys. Bye.